Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Minnesota.
The Twins hit the road looking to shake off a rough homestand, and it is a steamy night in Arlington for the start of this series with the Texas Rangers. After getting swept by the Royals earlier this week, the Twins now sit 2 games behind Kansas City in the standings, with Detroit just behind them, while the Rangers have enjoyed a surge over the last few weeks to climb within 2.5 games of the Astros atop the AL West. Both the Twins and Rangers have overcome a bad start to their seasons, and tonight both will turn to a left-handed starter to get them back on the winning track. Tommy Malone for Minnesota, Wandy Rodriguez for the Rangers. Welcome inside Globe Life Park in Arlington. I'm Jamie Hirsch. We've seen a similar storyline with these two teams to start the season. Let's set the stage for this 3-game weekend set between the Twins and Rangers. The Rangers have found their stride lately with the best record in baseball over the last few weeks, all despite losing 2 of their best hitters to injury, with Josh Hamilton and Adrian Beltre on the disabled list. But Prince Fielder has more than filled that void with an incredible season, leading the league in batting average, and he's in the top 5 in RBI and on-base percentage. Meanwhile, the Twins are in unfamiliar territory after a 1-5 homestand. They will try to respond with a series win here in Texas, and they've made a couple of roster moves to help them get back on the winning track. Tim Stopper has been designated for release or assignment, and Michael Tonkin will take his spot in the bullpen. Plus, Eddie Rosario is back after missing 1 game for the birth of his 3rd child, Lucas, which means Jorge Polanco is headed back to the minors. The Twins hoping that Rosario can help them get the offense back on track, and Dick Bramer, Burt Blyleven, it might also be a good sign. They're facing a lefty tonight, which has led to success for the Twins.
Yeah, the Twins have hit left-handers pretty well. You remember the month of May, it was just a couple weeks ago. The Twins were getting clutch hits. Didn't make any difference if it was the number 3 hitter, the number 7, 8, or 9 hitter. Everybody contributed to a 20-win month. But now we're into June, and hits and runs have been harder to come by.
And remember, there's 31 days in the month of May, I believe, 30 days past September,
Yes.
April, June. And remember, a lot of the Twins players said, well, this is May 32nd. This is May 33rd. Well, the calendar's turned, and here in the month of June, the Twins have struggled. Great month of May, where they won 20 ball games, only lost 7. 3-7 so far here in the month of June. Yeah, the lack of offense. Hopefully they can turn that around tonight, because who's on the mound? A left-handed pitcher. It'll be Rodriguez on the mound for the Texas Rangers, and the Twins have done very well against lefties this year. 15-8. You see how the batting average is? That might wake them up here tonight.
We've seen offensive droughts from everybody that we've played against. Now the Twins are going 4-2 are the Texas Rangers. We'll see what happens in game 1 of this 3-game series.
Presented by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By Ram. Come discover great deals during the Ram Drive and Discover event. And by Budweiser, to remind you to make a plan to make it home. As Texas heat goes, pretty moderate, for the low 90s, something like that. Shouldn't be quite bearable for everybody involved here as the Twins open up a road trip. 3 games here in Texas, 2 games in St. Louis. Brian Dozier in the box, and we are ready to go. First pitch inside, ball 1. It'll be Dozier, Hunter, and Mauer facing left-hander Wandy Rodriguez. 91 degrees, the official game time temperature. There's a strike to even the count.
Always seems a little cooler only because there's always a breeze here in Texas. So, yeah, very comfortable night.
Inside 2-1. Twins would like to utilize the off day yesterday like they did on April 14th. The team was struggling going into that off day and then played really good baseball for a month and a half. And the Twins need to try to get back to playing good baseball in a very important road trip because they're going to be playing some pretty good teams. The Menards batting order for the Twins. Dozier in the leadoff spot. Corey Hunter, Joe Mauer, Trevor Plouffe, Kenny Vargas, Eddie Rosario, Kurt Suzuki, Eduardo Escobar, and Aaron Hicks. There is a 5-pitch walk to Brian Dozier to start the ball game.
And Rodriguez on the mound. Wandy Rodriguez making for him his 10th start for the Texas Rangers. He went to spring training with the Braves, was released in early April, and then signed by the Texas Rangers. Started the season down in the minor leagues and then getting called up in the latter part of April. Twins have faced him a couple times. That's when he was with the Houston Astros, but you have to go back to 2009, so not a lot of at-bats. Only Torrey Hunter and Joe Mauer have faced Rodriguez.
Rodriguez did not issue a walk in his last 2 starts. He walks the leadoff man, now gets ahead of Hunter, 0-1.
Yeah, last 2 starts combined 2.55 ERA.
And Torrey squared to bunt. Gallo, the third baseman, playing about 2/3 of the way back on the dirt of the infield. And the pitch not close to the strike zone, 1-1. One and one to the Twins right fielder. And he does bunt this time, and it will die on the grass for a bunt single. Teams, typically the players on teams that are struggling, always try to do something big to turn things around, and more often than not, when things get turned around, it's a sequence of little things, such as a leadoff walk and a bunt single.
Yeah, with the shift put on, Gallo playing at deep third base. You can see where Gallo's playing. No chance. The only one who really had a chance, maybe the pitcher, but instead it's a infield bunt single for Torrey Hunter, and a couple runners on, nobody out.
For Joe Mauer, as he averaged way down to 260, the RBI total 34, second on the team, and a chance to drive in some runs here in his first at bat.
Yeah, this is one guy I think he and Trevor Plouffe really need to pick it up right here and hopefully drive in some runs. They're in that 3 and 4 hole in the lineup.
1 strike. The average overall down quite a bit, but with men in scoring position, Mauer's been very good, so has Prince Fielder. Here's a ball driven to left, and that will die in front of the left fielder DeShields. Dozier will be held at third base.
Yeah, Brian had to hold up to make sure that DeShields doesn't come in and make a shoestring catch. So a little bit of a top spin. Good start for the Twins so far. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Northland Ford defense for the Rangers. Delino, DeShields Jr. in left. Leonis Martin in center. Shin-Soo Choo in right. Gallo, their new third baseman. Andrus and Alberto up the middle. Keith Moreland at first. And Carlos Corporon, the catcher. Well, the Twins, when they've had scoring opportunities, have not performed well in the month of June, but Plouffe comes up with the bases loaded and nobody out. Paul Molitor hoping his team can score early as they did in so many games in the month of May. Infield playing back. They'll take a double play grounder here, but Plouffe instead takes strike 1.
Well, Trevor Plouffe had a grand slam this year, that coming against John Danks at home. But Rodriguez has given up only 4 home runs.
1 strike to Plouffe. And now down low. Trevor scuffling as much as anybody in the lineup for the Twins in the month of June. Just a couple of hits. Strike on the outside corner. It's 1-2.
We've got 2 left-handers starting here tonight, Rodriguez and then Malone. Both type of pitchers. Rodriguez throws a little bit harder than Tommy Malone, but they have to hit their spots. 36 years old is Rodriguez. 8 seasons wore an Astro uniform, a couple seasons with the Pirates.
And 2-2. Big spot here for Plouffe to get this road trip started. 2-2. And lifted foul and out of play.
Yeah, the curveball left up right there. Trevor fouled it off. Rodriguez's fastball between 88 and 91. He's come up with a little cut fastball. He'll throw in on righties, along with that curveball he just left up, and a changeup.
A high fly to left field. The Shields bat, the wind, gale force wind blowing in from the outfield, and it'll be just a 1-base advance, the lead runner scoring, and the Twins get the first run of the ball game.
Well, Trevor picking up an RBI, his 33rd of the year. And all 3 runners were tagging up. Torrey Hunter, Joe Mauer at second and first to see what the Shields would do, and he did it right. He threw it to third base. Dozier scoring again this year.
33rd run batted in for Plouffe. And now Kenny Vargas. Vargas now the 5th place hitter, and if he can produce at all, he's got a good chance of staying there for a while. Swing and a miss. 1 strike.
Well, this is the side of the plate that he has done better of. Hitting .375 as a right-handed hitter. 15 hits and 40 at-bats.
Twins need to get this bat going maybe more than any other. The first 4 guys, even when the Twins were winning games in May, it was pretty much the first 4 guys who were the most considered consistent hitters. Then there seemed to be a big drop off 5th through 9th. And that's a called strike.
A big slow curveball there that Vargas took.
1-2. Vargas has gotten some hits. Twins are hoping that he can start driving the ball. This one squirted down the right field line into the seats. And 2-2. Vargas in the lineup because of his extra base hit potential. He has 29 hits, but only 6 extra base hits, 3 doubles and 3 home runs. Wide of the plate now, 3-2 with Rosario on deck. Only out on the board, a sacrifice fly, and the Twins have jumped out early on Wandy Rodriguez. Popped up, short right field, racing in is Chu, and he's there for the catch, out number 2. And that will bring up Rosario with 2 on and 2 out.
Rosario just joining the club. His wife presented him with his first son, along with 2 daughters. So congratulations to Eddie Rosario, as he has been swinging a hot bat over the last 14 games. Little Lucas came in at 8 pounds, 21 inches long.
Rosario did pretty good consistently since his call up. Getting toward the 100 at bat plateau. And a dribbler right side. And Alberto throws him out. Twins get a leadoff walk, couple of hits, a sacrifice fly later, and they have the game's first run. Come in and score in the first or second inning and kind of set the tone for the game. So Twins are hoping that will work in their favor against Jeff Bannister in his first year managing the Texas Rangers in the first game between these two teams this year. The Menards batting order: Delino DeShields Jr., Shin-Soo Choo, Prince Fielder Mitch Moreland, Elvis Andrus, Joey Gallo, Carlos Corporan, Leonis Martin, and Hanser Alberto.
Well, the Twins are 24-7 when they score first, and now it's up to Tommy Milone, who's making his sixth start, to make that run hold up. There's your run. Both Twins scoring, having a tough time scoring. There you go, Tommy. There's your run.
Delino DeShields, Shin-Soo Choo, Prince Fielder for the Rangers in the first pitch, down and in, ball one. Milone hoping for a little better fortune than he had in his last start in the series finale at Fenway Park. A series of scratch hits really forced him to work hard in the first inning. So he did give up a couple of long home runs, but it just, things weren't breaking his way from the very first at bat.
Yeah, that was that final game on Thursday at Fenway Park. So this is the first time that Malone's been on the mound since the 4th of June.
2-1. The 2 earned runs. Strike 2, 2-2. Twins came back to win the ball game with a 4-run ninth, split that series in Boston, and then had a 6-game homestand where they won just 1 game. Strike 3, and DeShields takes 2 outside the strike zone and then takes 3 in the zone. 1 down, that'll bring up 2. Northland Ford defense for the Twins. Eddie Rosario in left, Aaron Hickson center, Torrey Hunter in right, Plouffe, Escobar, Dozier, Mauer the infielder, Suzuki behind the plate. 1 down, and that'll bring up Shin-Soo Choo.
Yeah, Milone making his 9th career start against the Rangers. All 8 other starts is when he was with the Oakland A's. Making his 6th career start here.
Pretty good numbers here. Dribbled up the line, it'll hit the grass and roll foul. So Hunter's ball bunted up the line, stayed in the grass. This one caught the edge of the grass and twisted foul. The Rangers above the 500 mark, 2.5 games back in the American League West. 15-6 over the last 21, but they have lost 3 of their last 4 games.
Yeah, and Houston has really been struggling, so the Rangers now 2.5 games behind the Houston Astros. One thing Malone has done, he's done a good job against left-handed hitters so far this year. Left-handed hitters hitting just 161 off of him. Right-handers hitting 329.
Taking a little bit low. The Rangers were beaten yesterday in Oakland by left-hander Scott Kazmir.
Yeah, they only got one hit.
Up and away. And now 3-1.
And Prince Fielder on deck.
And a swing and a foul. 3-2. Middle of the Texas lineup without Adrian Beltre and Josh Hamilton. They're both hurt. They won't play in this series. Full count from Malone to Chu. And Chu takes a walk. It's one of his strengths in his game, drawing a walk. And he just has here with one out in the first. That'll bring up Fielder.
Yeah, Malone, you're usually very good control in his career, just averaging just over 2 walks per 9.
Talking with Jeff Bannister, the Texas manager, this afternoon, and he's talking about his slow start. He said we just needed to get some guys who didn't play much last year caught up, and he was speaking of Chu and Fielder, who didn't play much at all last year. Took them a little while to get going, but now they're going. And Fielder takes outside, ball 1.
Yeah, Prince last year in his first season with the Rangers started with them in April, but then in May had the neck surgery that cut his season short. There's Jeff Bannister.
Longtime minor league manager. Fielder pops it up. Short left. Now the wind is going to push this all the way in, and it's Rosario who makes the catch from deep short. And I'm guessing Eduardo Escobar might be confronted with that when he gets in the dugout. The wind is just blowing in fiercely from center field, and anything with any altitude on it is going to be pushed back to the infield, and that appeared to be a case where the shortstop kind of gave up on that ball.
Yeah, that ball was hit straight away center and ended up over in left field. You can see the flags blowing hard.
Mitch Moreland had a good road trip, even though the team did not have a great road trip. Starting to hit a little bit now, and it's important that he does that because the Rangers really need somebody to help protect Fielder in the lineup with Hamilton and Beltre gone. There's strike 1. Hamilton and Beltre, as it turns out, are two guys that have really enjoyed hitting against Tommy Malone, and they won't be hitting against him tonight.
Tommy says thank you very much.
Yes, there's Hamilton back with the Rangers. Twins have a pull shift on the infield for Moreland, and he takes ball 1, 1-1.
Moreland spent some time on the disabled list, ended up having left elbow surgery. They removed a bone chip. Talked to him before the ball game. He said, yeah, it was just irritating that nerve in your elbow. Had it removed. Missed a couple of weeks. He's back on the field again.
Check swing and ball 2. Malone trying to pitch around a 1-out walk.
Moreland in his 6th season with the Texas Rangers. He had ankle surgery last year that ended his season. Played in only 52 ball games.
And another 3-ball count.
And that's one thing that really has hurt the Rangers over the last couple of years are some key players, not only the everyday players, but a lot of starting pitching and also relievers going down.
3-1 to Moreland. Elvis Andrus on deck. And a strike. And with 2 down, Shin-Soo Choo will leave early from first. Mauer still going to hold him at first. Strike 3 at the knees. Moreland thought it was ball 4. Only one ball put in play during a scoreless first inning. The Twins have a 1-0 lead.
Expect you to do your job as well, and that's all. I wasn't expecting, I can't think about suspension or how much I'm going to get fined. I'm here to play, and I have a passion for this game. I love this game, and I feel like it's getting taken away from me. I'm going to defend it.
That was Torii Hunter today talking about the fact that he's been suspended 2 games for his actions following what was an ejection on Wednesday night. Torii went off after his ejection, and he told Paul Molitor, I'm going to get my money's worth for this one, and he proceeded to do so. Now, he is appealing the suspension, so he'll play until that process is complete, but he wasn't the only one to get tossed that night. Paul Molitor also was ejected, and today he said there was a moment the other night where he remembered not defending Torii Hunter on opening day regarding a questionable call, and he regrets that. So he ran out this time because, as he says, it was the right thing to do, even though it led to his first ejection as manager, guys.
Back to the mound, knocked down by Rodriguez. Thank you, Jamie. And Suzuki's retired 1 away. Well, here's what happened 2 days ago with Torii Hunter batting in the 8th inning.
Well, it was 2 pitches. There was a pitch prior to that that was up in the strike zone, and then Torii arguing that last call, which we showed was off the plate. And then Torii ripping off his gear, and then the jersey went flying. To be honest with you, I'm surprised that Torii was suspended. I really thought he'd just get a heavy fine. I didn't think that they would put a 2-day suspension on it.
There was some contact between Jeff Kellogg and Torii Hunter. Torii claims that the contact was initiated by the umpire, not by him. Don't know if that was weighed at all in the with the suspension. But what got Torii and a lot of the Twins batters upset was a highly erratic strike zone. And Torii suggested that the umpire gained revenge for Torii complaining about strike 2 in that at bat. And I don't know that that was the case so much as an umpire just seemed to have a bad. There were at least a half dozen pitches like that that were well off the plate that were called strikes.
And it was for both sides. It just wasn't the Twins that seemed like they, that strike zone was a little inconsistent.
Escobar dribbling foul. And so here we are tonight. Brand new ball game. Fresh start for everybody. Look at this pitch for Moreland. He thought it was ball 4.
Hunter Wendelstedt, a 17-year veteran, said, let's go, boys. Swing the bat. Love umpires like that.
1 and 2 to Escobar in their strike 3. He fought off a bunch of 2-strike pitches. Now 2 down in the 2nd inning, and that'll bring up Hicks.
Ramirez picking up his first strikeout. This ball looked like it tailed away from Escobar as he swung through it.
Nowhere near the target. He missed the target by about 1.5 feet, but he got the strikeout. Hunter Wendelstedt, Bob Davidson, the old UMD Bulldog. There's a drive to center field, and the wind is going to push that down. And Martin, who raced back, had to abruptly change his field to make the catch. Set by a bunch of key injuries. Josh Hamilton just over from the Rangers with the transaction with the Angels. Adrian Beltre in 3/5 of their intended starting rotation.
Yeah, the biggest one on their right, Yu Darvish, out with the Tommy John surgery. They hope that Holland and Harrison are able to come back sometime this year. Two good left-handed pitchers.
Andrus takes strike one from Malone. It'll be Andrus, Gallo, and Corporon. And as the Rangers try to patch things together, and they're going through a bit of an offensive skid themselves, here they are with Andrus manning the 5th spot. 1-1. Andrus, we've typically seen hitting in the top of the order, and maybe things aren't going well at the bottom of the order, but we haven't seen him hit in the middle of the order at all.
Yeah, he's never been a big RBI guy. Last year in 157 games, but he was more on the top of the lineup, drove in only 41 runs.
1-2. Numbers are down again this year for Andrus, and the Rangers are into him at least through the year 2022. Popped up. It'll be a tough play. Well, Dozier's got it covered. And toward the line, makes the catch, one away. We'll bring up Joey Gallo with Beltre out. An opportunity for Joey Gallo to get up to the big leagues.
Well, he's done a pretty good job so far. 8 ball games. He's hit a couple home runs. Called up on June 2nd when Beltre was put on a disabled list from Double-A, where he is hitting well over 300. 4 minor league seasons, he's hit 113 minor league home runs. A lot of power.
Strike on the outside corner to Gallo.
But one thing he does too, he strikes out a lot. In the minor leagues, he struck out once every 3 at-bats.
Breaking ball, tap foul, 0-2. Malone trying to pick up his 3rd win of the year. Breaking ball missing. The Twins experiencing just their 3rd 3-game losing streak of the year. It's their longest losing streak, matching the one at the very start of the year and then the one right after. Tommy Milone ended the first 3-game losing streak with a win on the road in Chicago. And Milone recovers, gets the first hop. 2 down.
A good fastball in right there, kind of tied up Gallo. Hit that little one hopper back at Tommy Milone for the second out.
Two down, and Corcoran will bat.
Corcoran in his first season with the Rangers, coming over from the Houston Astros. One reason that he and Rodriguez have paired up in all now 10 starts. He's been Rodriguez's catcher because of their relationship in Houston.
And Milone with another nice fielding play. Couple of assists, a 1-2-3 second, just 10 pitches in the second inning for the Twins left-hander. After 126 years of Major League play, the first interleague play in history was played here. The Giants defeated the Rangers at the ballpark in Texas. Darrell Hamilton picked up the first ever interleague hit. Glenn Allen Hill became the National League's first regular season DH. It's a timeless moment. Dozier squaring to bunt, taking ball one. Dozier walked and scored in the first inning. Twins had the bases loaded, nobody out. Trevor Plouffe lifted a sacrifice fly. Rodriguez got out of further difficulty. And Dozier now takes a strike, 1-1.
Yeah, with Brian scoring a run, that's run number 48 on the season for Brian. Now 2 behind Josh Donaldson of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Over the screen, out of play. 1-2.
Hey, want to shout out happy 100th birthday to Evelyn Garby. Evelyn lives in Woodbury Estates, assisted living. So Evelyn, happy 100th birthday to you.
And Evelyn, you don't need it probably, but go ahead and turn the air conditioning for your Twins who are playing in the heat here in Texas. 2-2 to Dozier. Toward the hole, big chest high hop for Andrus, 1 away. Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Boys and Girls Clubs help young people reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens through programs that promote character and leadership, education, healthy lifestyles, and more. For more info, visit foxsportsupports.com. 1 down, here's Torrey Hunter. Fouled away. One thing to keep in mind as Torrey appeals, is a 2-game suspension. Right now, the Twins have just 3 bench players. This isn't a situation where you can replace a suspended player 0-2. So whether the suspension stays as it is reduced to 1 game or eliminated altogether, I suppose that would not cause the Twins to think the situation over, but we might not see Torrey serve any suspension unless the Twins, in advance of that, get back to 12 pitchers and have one other bench player available to them. I can't imagine any manager would want to play 1 game or 2 games with just 2 bench players.
Yeah. I just watching Torrey on that 0-2 pitch that he swung through. He kind of jarred his back a little bit.
Swing and a miss.
Another big swing by Hunter.
Strikes out, 2 down.
Rodriguez picking up his 2nd strikeout. Torrey, kind of a homecoming for him. He still makes his home here in Prospect, Texas, not too far from the Dallas area.
Here's Mauer, line to single to left, his first time up. Outside, ball 1. Well, the Rangers have become quite a story within striking distance of the Astros. And we showed you the pitchers who aren't in the rotation. Here are the pitchers who are. Wandy Rodriguez, who was released by the Braves. Giovanni Gallardo, Colby Lewis, Nick Martinez, and Chichi Gonzalez, who's been outstanding for them in 3 starts.
He took the loss yesterday, but he worked 7 innings, only gave up 1 run, his first run that he allowed in 3 starts.
2-1 to Bauer. And a breaking ball tickles the outside corner.
Rodriguez has been around, making his 258th Major League start. He has 94 career wins.
On the ground, Andres scoops it up. 9 in a row set down by Rodriguez, yet the Twins have a 1-0 lead.
Your link to what's next by NorthlandFord.com and your local Northland Ford dealer. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here.
Better start for Tommy Milone. He hasn't given up a bunch of scratch singles, infield hits, flares to the outfield. In fact, the Rangers don't have a hit at all yet against Tommy Milone. And there's strike 1. Leonis Martin, Hanser Alberto, and Delino DeShields, the batters. Swing and a miss. Big swing and a miss. 0-2. The injury situation just gets worse and worse in baseball. Lance Lynn put on the disabled list with a forearm strain for the Cardinals now. Houston Astros knocked out Felix Hernandez in the first inning. 8 earned runs in a third of an inning, but now Jose Altuve is out of the game with an injury. And by those standards, you'd have to say the Twins have been one of the healthiest teams in baseball. Ricky Nolasco's been on and off the disabled list. Down in the dirt, 2-2. Got an update on Nolasco from Paul Molitor today. Yesterday, Nolasco pitched some from the mound. Didn't have a full out bullpen session or anything like that. Didn't fully and truly exert himself. But the foot felt okay. Plan is for him to have another mound session on Sunday. The ball lined to right, a base hit. And a 2-strike hit for Leonis Martin. And that'll bring up Alberto. In the month of June, the Twins starting pitchers have been T-Mobile game changers. It hasn't resulted in a good one-loss record. But since June 1st, they pitched to a 3.19 ERA in 62 innings. With 5 quality starts and 47 strikeouts and 11 walks.
Yeah, and the starters in those 10 games were combined to 2 and 5, and the relievers have pitched just as well at 3.12 ERA with a couple saves. So, yeah, the pitching has not been a problem.
Alberto lifts it foul into the seats. The Twins ERA, the team ERA, 3.80, which is now 7th in the American League. And ahead of presumed postseason contenders, the Orioles, the Angels, the Tigers, the Indians. Neil Allen deserves a lot of credit for getting this team turned around in the pitching department. 1-1. And now here are the Twins with the 5-man rotation, veterans for the most part. And the Twins are hopeful that Nolasco will come back, and they are hopeful that in, well, 3 weeks from tomorrow, the ball bunted foul, Irvin Santana is eligible to make his Twins debut on the 4th of July in Kansas City.
I remember when we had Terry Ryan in the booth in that Kansas City series, and you know, it's kind of like going out and making a trade. You hope that Santana gets in the best shape if he can to get ready for the last 3 months.
I don't see the Twins going to a 7-man rotation, do you?
No.
So it's important for Malone and the rest of the starters to continue to pitch well. Way out in front, and the number 9 batter strikes out, 1 down.
And strikeout number 3 in a ball game for Malone.
Join us June 19th, a fireworks Friday. The Twins taking on another surprise team in baseball, the Chicago Cubs. Presented by Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare. The first 10,000 fans will get a Paul Molitor bobblehead courtesy of select Heartland Chevy dealers. Go to twinsbaseball.com and get your tickets today. Here's DeShields, called out on strikes his first time up.
Yeah, DeShields getting some playing time this year. A Rule 5 draft pickup by the Rangers from the Houston Astros organization over the winter. Of course, the son of former major leaguer Delino DeShields Sr. 13 seasons in the big leagues with the Expos, Dodgers, Cardinals, Orioles, and Cubs.
Down low, ball 1, and DeShields Sr. was on the short list of coaching candidates for the Twins this offseason. And DeShields, I'm sure this one, enjoys every moment on the major league field, but this could have been a very special series if his dad had gone through the process and been added to the Twins coaching staff. They have him picked off, and Mauer's throw hits the runner. They had Martin picked off, and Mauer's throw hit the runner, and they will give Martin a stolen base.
Yeah, Tommy Malone already this year has 2 pickoffs. We saw him in that Boston series, and right here, Joe's got to throw that on the infield side of the bag, and he threw it right into the back of Martin.
A poor throw, but not an error. A stolen base is the official scoring.
Wow.
And now DeShields with the tying run in scoring position. 2-0.
I was going to say DeShields Jr. is a lot like his pops. He's got a lot of speed, a guy you want to keep off the bases. Lionel DeShields Sr. stole 463 bases in his career.
That's one of the things that made him a very attractive coaching candidate for the Twins. 3-0 to DeShields. Shin-Soo Choo on deck. And a strike. 3-3 counts for Malone. He ended up walking Choo in the first inning. And strike 2. And DeShields walked up the line from up here. It looked like it had the inside corner.
Probably looking for something out over the plate he could drive. Instead, Malone going inside, even though Suzuki's sitting away.
Right at the knees. 3-2 to DeShields. Tapper to short, backhanded by Escobar, throwing on the run.
Nice
Good play. DeShields gets down the line, as you said, in a hurry, and Escobar played that very sharply, 2 down.
Yeah, nice play. You know, you go over the opposing team, and of course, a lot of the Twins probably have not seen DeShields play since coming up from Double-A, but I'm sure that the middle infielders were told, hey, this guy gets out of the box very quickly, and Escobar, all in one motion, ended up having to make a very good throw across the diamond to Joe Mauer. So a nice defensive play to get to speedy DeShields. 241 minor league stolen bases.
Two
he
down.
has 13 already this year.
And here is Shin-Soo Choo. Breaking ball over the outside corner. Jorge Polanco, of course, was the shortstop in the series finale on Wednesday. And Polanco called up for just one game, sent back down to make room for Rosario, who came off the paternity list. Hopped up short left field. And Rosario with a diving attempt comes up short on the warning track.
Nice effort right there by Eddie Rosario. That ball just kept drifting away from him.
With that wind again,
Yep.
if this is a normal day here, I think he makes an easy play.
Yeah, good concentration, just comes up a bit short. So good effort by Rosario.
0-2 now to Choo. See the wind blowing straight in very firmly. Malone ahead, 0-2. Dig by Suzuki, 1-2. Both the Rangers and the Twins with a team batting average of .249. The Twins pitching staff has been quite a bit better than the Ranger pitching staff in terms of team ERA. Twins have caught the ball better than the Rangers. They've made 55 errors. Twins with 39 errors on the season. 1-2. Breaking ball, bounce to the right side. Mauer sprawls to get it to Malone. That ends the inning. Runner left at second base. It's a 1-0 Twins lead, and Trevor Plouffe, who drove in the 1, will lead off the 4th. and Dozier for the first run of the game, and that's where we're at as we now begin the fourth. There's a strike that covers the inside corner. Twins got a walk, an infield hit, a bunt single actually, and then a solid single to left by Mauer. Since then, Rodriguez has retired 9 men in a row. 1-1. Two and one. Dozier took a 5-pitch walk to start the ball game, forced Rodriguez to go into the stretch. Twins got a run in the first and were victimized by visiting teams scoring early. There's another strike over the inside corner. Throughout the Milwaukee and the Kansas City series, the other guys always seem to score first and ended up winning 5 of the 6 games. Tap foul.
You know, if you watch these two pitchers, Rodriguez and Malone, and you're watching the ball game, both these guys throw almost identical.
Now, Rodriguez has got a bigger breaking ball, right?
Tommy Malone's got a pretty good breaking ball. There's a fastball at 87. The guys that have learned that, you know, they can't overpower a lot of hitters, so they have to hit their spots. And Rodriguez has been doing it for a long time.
Low breaking ball hit up into the wind.
It's like a changeup right there.
Martin with the catch, 1 away. Twins had that terrible first week and started getting a little traction in April, and then in May had a wonderful month, winning 20 ball games, 23 wins so far since May 1st. And they've got the best record in their division since May 1st.
And right now the Royals, because of the 3-game sweep, a couple games over leading the Twins.
One strike to Vargas. Hit a fly ball to right his first time up, and now he takes a ball. Now the Twins' good spurt, their good run of baseball ended with the calendar change. There's a big swing on this by Vargas. And their run towards the 500 mark began right after that first week. Rangers didn't really get going until about 3 weeks into the season. And they've extended it so far into June, although again they've lost 3 of their last 4. Breaking ball got him, 2 down.
Yeah, that curveball right there just froze Vargas.
And the Rangers, who had all sorts of injuries last year and again this year, were way back. They had the worst record in the American League at the end of April and then turned it on.
And since 24-15 since May 1st.
The bottom line appears to be, as you look at the American League West standings, and whether it's the West, the Central, or the East, if there's a great team out there, I haven't seen it. Twins had their problems with Detroit, but right now they're ahead of Detroit in the standings in their division. I think there are some good teams, and maybe a lot of them, but there's not a great team in the American League with about 100 games left to play.
I think you're right, Dick. And then if you look at, you can get on a streak like the Twins did in May, you know, to get, say, in July. I mean, they're going to stay in the race. Every club's going to do that.
Toronto's already wondering about a lost season. Then they win 8 in a row. Now they're just 3 games back above the 500 mark. 2-1 to Rosario, and now 2-2. He's 59 games into the schedule this year. Breaking ball on the ground. Andres gets the second out.
Rodriguez dropped down on that breaking ball.
Another 1, 2, 3 innings. in whatever league he's playing. It was true in Milwaukee. It was true in Detroit. And now it's true here in Texas.
Yeah, with the Tigers, they thought so much of Fielder. They signed him to a 9-year contract with the Tigers. Well, he only played a couple years for them. Mainly because of Cabrera's situation. They felt they could disperse with Fielder, and here he is in Texas. Then last year ended up playing only 42 ball games, had the neck surgery, but right now leading the American League in hitting.
First pitch lifted to short left. And Rosario, adjusting for the wind, makes the catch. It's always nice to get Fielder out, particularly when you do it on one pitch. One down. And that'll bring up Mitch Moreland, called out on strikes his first time up. If it's true that no team at this point can be considered great in the American League, that would lend further credibility to the Twins' hopes of staying in a race, whether it's the division race, the wild card race. You don't want to have bad stretches like the Twins have had so far in June, but even the great teams have those.
Well, and then it comes down to injuries too. You just mentioned Altuve. I mean, here's a guy that's the MVP last year in the American League, and you don't think he's going to be missed by that offense of Houston? And they have been struggling, but he's your leader.
2 quick strikes to Moreland. Andrus on deck. Malone's given up just 1 hit, 1 walk. In the dirt with a breaking ball.
You know, here in Texas, we talked about the pitching. You know, Yu Darvish going down. You know, they have signed him to a long-term contract. So they've got a lot of money invested in guys that are currently on a disabled list.
Steve Buechele in the foreground there, bench coach for the Rangers, former Ranger third baseman. 1-2. Lower breaking ball, missing again, low, 2-2.
And he stayed with that breaking ball and finally got it over, and Moreland strikes out for the 2nd time.
Based on that swing and how it looked, that might not be the last breaking ball Moreland sees in this series. 2 down. Tomorrow, baseball night in America returns to Fox. NL Central showdown. The Reds battling the Cubs. Coverage begins Saturday at 6 Central only on Fox. And we're on in the mid-afternoon tomorrow. Then the Cubs game, and it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that because the following Saturday the Cubs will be in Minnesota.
Right.
2 down. Here's Elvis Andrus. On the inside corner, a strike. Just off the plate. And the Twins have had to be creative with their lineup. Even Kurt Suzuki would tell you he's not a 5th place hitter, but here's Andrus, who in 6 years in the big leagues has 15 home runs, hitting 5th for the Rangers. Fouled up the line. His batting averages have declined in each of the last 3 years. And the Rangers scuffling to score runs and got some big bats in the middle of their lineup on the disabled list.
Yeah, 2-time All-Star back in 2010 and also in 2012 for the Rangers. But you mentioned the last couple of years have not been what he was able to do his first 2 or 3 years.
619 at bats last year. He drove in 41 runs. 2-2. Full count with Gallo on deck. Jones had 4 3-ball counts. Has only walked 1 man. Got him. Good inning from Malone. A couple of strikeouts and a 1-2-3-4. Twins playing with a lead for a change. It didn't happen much in the homestand, unfortunately.
Well, Twins holding on to a 1-0 lead.
Suzuki will lead things off, and we have time to remind you about Aloha Night 2015, a special offer including a ticket for Thursday, July 9th's game with the Twins and the Tigers, plus a limited edition Kurt Suzuki Hawaiian t-shirt. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Al Pono, a youth program in Hawaii, and it's available exclusively by logging on to twinsbaseball.com/aloha. Strike one to Suzuki. Escobar and Hicks will follow. Strike two. Suzuki with a comebacker, hit the ball fairly hard. Soft line drive, I'd say, knocked down by Rodriguez. He picked it up and threw Suzuki out. Up high and in, 1-2. Hit to right field, hit pretty well. Chew back near the track. That'll be the hardest hit ball of the night. One away. Carsoup.com trivia question: who are the three active players with at least 300 home runs and 4 Gold Gloves? And by active, we mean their careers are still ongoing. They might be on the disabled list.
They might be.
One down, and here's Eduardo Escobar.
Yeah, Rodriguez has now retired 13 straight. Twins picked up 2 hits in the first inning. That's been it. Sacrifice fly.
Escobar with a drive to center. That turns Martin around. And the other day, that might have been a fruitful at bat. As it is, it's another fly ball out.
No, you have to hit it to right center where that channel is.
I'm not even sure the channel's there tonight.
I don't think so.
2 down, and now Aaron Hicks. Hicks hit a ball that Martin thought was going to go over his head, and he had to slam on his brakes and run in to make the catch to wrap up the second inning. Squaring to bunt. Strike one. And now 1-1. Haven't had a base runner since Mauer's single filled the bases in the first. Check swing. Strike two. Hicks strikes out. My goodness. 15 in a row set down by Wabi Rodriguez.
On to that 1-0 lead, and Twin fans, don't forget, you bring your Circle Me signs, you may find yourself in a Minnesota Lottery winner circle where you could win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery. Away from Painesville and Richmond, Minnesota.
Painesville, about 45 minutes, I suppose, outside of St. Cloud. And ball one to Joey Gallo, leading off the 5th inning. Gallo, a one hopper back to Malone. His first time up, big breaking ball, top foul.
Yeah, Gallo only 21 years old. He was a Rangers #1 pick in 2012 out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Powering pop-up.
Oh, what will the wind do with this?
Hicks coming in, and it's closer to second base than where he started. And Gallo's out on a tall one.
That baby was up there.
I looked at the schedule this weekend, and we were talking about how there are a lot of good teams, but no great teams in the league, and a couple of teams really scuffling along. It's possible that by the end of this weekend, 11 of the 15 teams in the American League can be at 500 or better. Now, that's balance, I guess, parity, mediocrity, whatever you want to call it. It should potentially set up for what's going to be a really interesting final 100 games with a lot of teams in just about every division bunched pretty close together.
Yeah, I like the word parity over just, lack of talent or whatever.
Mediocrity.
Mediocrity, only because, these guys are the best at what they do.
Backhanded by Escobar. Time to set and fire 2 down.
Nice. Another nice play by Escobar. Made a nice play on DeShields in the 3rd inning, and right here, deep short. Has to plant his feet and make a good throw across the diamond. Now the catcher's running here, so Escobar making sure he sets and throws a strike over to Joe. So a nice play by Escobar again.
And now 8 in a row set down by Malone. Here's Leonis Martin. Outside ball 1. Martin with the only Ranger hit. Solid single to right, leading off the 3rd. He got as far as second base after being credited with a stolen base. And a strike.
Yeah, for Malone, this game's going a lot like the one he did on his opening day assignment against the Chicago White Sox in Chicago, where he worked 7 2/3 innings of shutout baseball.
Half swing, foul ball, and that got a piece of Suzuki.
Got him on the right leg, maybe on top of the foot.
One and two.
Kind of a check swing.
Inside of the shin guard.
And an instep.
Just missed. Hitting the inside corner with a fastball. 1 and 2.
Well, Malone doing a great job of working all 4 corners of the plate. Just missed.
Breaking ball off the end of the bat. Swing and a miss. Another good inning for Tommy Malone. He set down 9 in a row. The guy who scored the only run of the game so far, Brian Dozier, will lead things off in the 6th. Brian Dozier leading off the 6th for the Twins. First pitch, a swing and a miss, 1 strike. Dozier drew a 5-pitch walk to start the ball game.
I think we have seen more swings and misses in the first 5 innings here than we have probably over the last week.
There hasn't been one pitch in this game thrown at 90 miles per hour. Dozier taps out the 3rd, 1 away.
Yeah, 16 straight now retired by Wandy Rodriguez, excuse me.
And down here's Torrey Hunter. Offense is down again this year. You're probably not going to like this subject matter, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. What can baseball do to increase run production?
Put in 2 DHs.
Okay. Have one for the pitcher and a floating one. If your right fielder's struggling, you can have a DH for your right fielder.
Well, I don't know if fans still want that 7 to 8 game. I think, you know, I love this game right here. Both pitchers attacking the strike zone.
I do too, but I think one of the reasons I used to and still do like these games, they used to be so rare. The Twins have 3 wins in the month of June, 2 of them by 2-0 scores. The other one was 8-4, and that was with a 4-run 9th that last game in Boston, and the Twins didn't really knock the cover off the ball in that game.
Well, you talk to anybody, they say, you know, what makes a good ball club? Pitching, pitching, pitching. You know, you need good pitching. Well, there has been some good pitching.
Yeah. Now Gibson, Mike Pelfrey, Trevor May have all contributed to an improved rotation. High hopper over the mound. Backhanded by Alberto, and a good scoop at first by Moreland, 2 down.
Yeah, nice play by Alberto at second base, getting rid of that ball quickly. Good defensive play behind Rodriguez. Corey hustling down that box, but Alberto had to get that ball on the shortstop side of the bag and make a good play and a good throw. Nice scoop right there by Moreland.
Twins have just 2 hits, only 1 on a full swing, and that came off the bat of Mauer in the first inning. Mentioned that each team is hitting .249, and that's just about the American League average. The American League, all 15 teams are hitting an aggregate .250. Outside, 1-1.
Once in a while I have seen Rodriguez drop kind of sidearm with some breaking balls. Mainly the left-handed hitters.
Coming up and in and getting a swing and a miss, 1-2.
Rodriguez coming into this ballgame making his 10th start. 3 of them here. Of the first 9, he was 0-2 with a 6.75 ERA in his first 3 starts here, but not here tonight.
2-2.
We're on the road. He is 3-0 in 6 starts with a 1.89 ERA. It's a pretty good pickup by the Rangers.
Breaking ball, and Mauer peels it back to the screen.
Both pitchers using that curveball, and we've seen a lot from Rodriguez. We've seen a lot from Malone. It's kind of like a changeup. Adding and subtracting on that curveball. Both of them have an excellent changeup.
Fouled away.
And both of them throwing strikes. 85 pitches for Rodriguez, 59 strikes. Malone has 71 pitches after 5 innings, 44 strikes.
Two and two. Joe waited on the last instant. It's Andrus to backpedal, but Mauer puts it in play. Andrus makes play 18 in a row, set down by Wandy Rodriguez.
Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us.
It's called the home field advantage, but that really doesn't play out if the road team scores in the first inning. We saw that in play in the last homestand when first the Brewers and the Royals scored first and almost put the home team on the defensive, and that's kind of what's happened here with Tommy Milone pitching very well here. We'll face Alberto, the number 9 batter. Ball 1 and now ball 2.
I was watching Trevor Plouffe. He's playing a deep third, and you know this is a number 9 hitter. You want to kind of maybe take the bunt away from this guy.
And a strike.
Alberto just getting called up on May 28th from the minor leagues. Good hitter in the minor leagues, 278 hitter out of the Dominican Republic, just 22 years old.
2-2.
You know, since Ian Kinsler left here, they've had a tough time finding that right second baseman to take over here.
2-2. Full count.
Yeah, Milone with 6 strikeouts in the ball game, 1 walk.
Does not want to walk the number 9 batter. Hook foul. St. Louis leading the Royals 2-0 in the middle of that game in the 5th inning. And fans, of course, interested in that game for a lot of reasons. The Royals are in first place ahead of the Twins, and the Twins go to St. Louis as soon as they're done here Sunday afternoon. 3-2. And a chopper foul. Twins will face the Rangers here for 3 games. Then they'll have 4 games with the Cardinals. The first 2 in St. Louis Monday night, Tuesday afternoon, and then again at Target Field Wednesday night and Thursday afternoon. 8th pitch of this at bat. And this one is again foul. Some good teams. The Rangers above the 500 mark. The Cardinals might be the great team that we were speaking of before, but they're in the National League. And the Cubs, similar record to the Twins. Another 3-2 pitch. This one is fair. Nice knockdown by Plouffe, and he throws him out. What a play by Trevor Plouffe.
Oh, we've seen a couple nice, very nice defensive plays behind Milone, and that is outstanding. Plouffe kind of had to backpedal to make sure he could get this, and then right at the last second got it in his glove, and then a one-hop throw over to Joe Mauer.
Ball like that, second hop can be really unpredictable. And ended up getting Alberto by a half step. 1 down in the 6th. Here's DeShields. Remember when Target Field opened up, talking with Twins groundskeeper, head groundskeeper Larry DeVito, Fox Tracks presented by Ram. He said he's worked very hard at the time when he was in charge of the infield, putting it together, putting the right type of dirt in front of home plate so that second hop wouldn't have so much topspin, wanting to deaden it a little bit to make it a little bit easier for infielders on plays like that. And it's particularly tough for a third baseman.
Yeah, I don't care if that was hard or soft dirt underneath there. That was a great play by Trevor Plouffe.
On the outside corner, you pointed out as we were getting ready for the broadcast and they were getting the field ready, they really watered down the area in front of home plate for that reason.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on the pitcher. You know, if he's a ground ball type pitcher, they'll throw a little bit more, maybe diamond dust or more dirt, so it does slow it down a little bit. More sinker ballers.
Last time the Twins were on the road, we played at Fenway Park, and the grass was about 4 inches tall in the infield. Try to slow the infield down a little bit.
Yeah, they tried that when I pitched, but the grass can't grow that high.
2-2 to DeShields. Struck him out. Another changeup.
And strikeout number 7. That ties a season high for Milone. He has been outstanding. He has taken that 1-0 lead and is really dealing here, working all 4 corners of the plate, good fastball, not overpowering, but you throw enough breaking balls and changeups, that fastball looks like it's 92, 93.
And now Chu. I mentioned it before. Malone's been particularly good against left-handed batters, and there are a lot of them in this Texas lineup. But sometimes a pitcher like Malone, who relies on that changeup, has reverse splits. Left-handers have a better chance against him because they're a little less apt to throw that changeup. The ball hit the center and hit pretty well, but Hicks underneath it. We'll talk more about that. Malone certainly looks like he's got enough left to pitch the 7th. He has retired 12 men in a row.
Sacrifice fly by Trevor Plouffe after the Twins loaded the bases on the first 3 batters. Plouffe driving in the only run, and it's been pitching. Both starters doing a good job, especially Tommy Malone. 6 shutout innings on 87 pitches, and Rodriguez, since giving up that hit to Mauer in the first inning, has retired 18 straight batters.
Plouffe, Vargas, and Rosario to hit here in the 7th. Ball 1 to Trevor, and now ball 2.
Retiring batters at 18 like Rodriguez has is nothing new to him. Back in early May, he faced the Astros, and then he faced the Tampa Bay Rays. He had retired in those 2 games combined 34 batters in a row, from the 3rd inning in that Houston game to the 5th inning of the first game against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Plouffe takes 3-1 now with Vargas on deck.
.90 pitches, 61 strikes for Rodriguez.
Fouled away. It'll reach the seats 3-2.
He's faced 22 batters, been able to get strike 1 on 17 of the 22. Another key to pitching well. Get ahead of the hitters.
Back. So you don't think baseball should do a thing to jack up the run scoring a little bit?
No, I think if they're going to do anything, they should subtract teams. So more of these players that are spread out can maybe
that's a hot button thing for me.
26 teams rather than 30.
Oh, really? You're going to eliminate 4 franchises. Plouffe to left center field and down for a hit. Good at bat for Plouffe, and the Twins have their first hit since the first inning.
Yeah, stop that streak of 18 straight by Rodriguez. So Rodriguez here tonight, he has been on. Of course, the Twins scored the 1 run on the sacrifice fly, but Rodriguez with 4 strikeouts in a ball game. Like Malone, they have painted here tonight.
And now Vargas would by chance the 4 teams you'd want to contract be Kansas City, Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland, so the Twins would win the division every year.
No, I'm not going to say who. I don't have that power.
That's good.
I don't have that power to say who.
Okay.
But if you want, you want the better hitters all together and more runs, put them subtract a little bit.
Well, after
it'll never happen. But
after 1968, and this is something that might happen, probably should at some point. Baseball expanded and diluted the pitching pool. Remember, 68 was such a pitching dominated year.
Bob Gibson, 1.12 ERA, 13 shutouts, 305 innings pitched.
Don Drysdale.
Yeah, 58 consecutive shutout innings. Denny McClain, 31 wins.
There was one .300 batter in the American League. Carl Yastrzemski won the batting title at .301. First pitch taken for a ball, 2-2 to Vargas.
Also what they did is they lowered the mound from the pyramids that these guys were pitching off of in the 60s to a 10-inch mound.
Vargas takes one in the dirt. Nice block by Corporon. It's a full count. Wouldn't expect Plouffe would take off here. Full count. Twins trying to string some things together like they did in the first inning. A walk, bunt, single, line drive, single, sacrifice fly, and that's been it in terms of run scoring for either team. 3-2 to Vargas.
So what you're saying is to expand.
Sure.
And then lowering the mound even just a flat area.
Flat ground. But make the pitchers throw on flat ground. Of those two things, one is maybe a good idea. Fouled back. Well, you could add a team, couldn't you? In Montreal and Portland or Las Vegas, someplace like that.
Well, there's some teams that are struggling attendance-wise that might end up there.
Yeah. Pitch number 100 coming up for Wandy Rodriguez.
See if Vargas can get hold of this pitch.
Fouled straight back.
Ooh, good swing.
The 90-mile-per-hour fastball. That's about as high as Rodriguez can bring it. Vargas has said that as he's had a tough time this year producing like he did last year, just the opposite of what you'd think. He thinks he's getting more fastballs than he got last year.
That he's getting more fastballs up here?
Yes.
Watch that breaking ball.
And Vargas strikes out.
Rodriguez picks up his 5th strikeout.
Watch every out of market regular season game live or on demand in true HD with MLB.TV Premium. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Watch at home, in the office, on the go, every night, every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Well, it's kind of cool here. Everybody kind of have their cell phone with their lights on, flashing. Everybody saying hello to everybody.
Were they prompted to do this?
I don't know.
It's a contemporary version of the wave from 30-some years ago. Well, as long as they do it when the Rangers are trying to hit.
Well, you kind of see it a distraction maybe behind home plate if you're an outfielder and you're trying to look in and the people behind home plate are flashing it back and forth.
1-0 to Rosario, and now outside 2-0. No, seriously, I would imagine if this continues, there might be an announcement made. If you had a light flickering out in the outfield, just somebody individually, they'd be told to turn it off, right?
Right.
Time to time you see a TV cameraman told to turn his light off. Well, now 3-0 to Rosario, and it might be distracting Rodriguez more than Rosario. Suzuki on deck.
Most pitches that Rodriguez has thrown in a ball game, 113. That came at Fenway Park.
You just saw Rodriguez take the rosin bag and pound it on his glove wrist, which is perfectly legal.
Right.
Just to be clear about that, right?
Well, you know, it's because it's so warm here, and I pitched here for 2 years. Yeah, that rosin you can put on your arm just to try to stop some of the perspiration that runs down into your hand.
But he's just done that, and there's no brownish smudge on his arm like we saw from Brian Mattis and Will Smith.
Right. Nothing on his neck like Pineda.
(3-0), and Rosario, I would guess, would be taking here with the Twins hoping to add an insurance run in the 7th. And Rodriguez has walked the rookie in 4 pitches.
Well, first walk of the ball game. Excuse me, second walk. He walked Dozier to lead off the ball game.
Jeff Bannister is going to come out here, or is that? No, that's Mike Maddox.
Mike Maddox, yep. Quick trip to the mound by Mike Maddox.
Now by the catcher, Kurt Suzuki.
Maddox, a highly respected pitching coach. Of course, the brother of Greg Maddox. Went into the Hall of Fame last year. And Greg Maddox, part of the Rangers organization.
He was with them on the road trip out in the Bay Area, at least. It was good when a big brother looks out for his younger brother. Mike Maddox with Hunter Wendelstedt coming out there.
And you saw Mike Maddox talking to Rodriguez and kind of pointing toward the middle part of the infield. Who has it in case the ball is hit back to you? Who's covering second base?
Saw Keona Kella, right-hander, warming up. Suzuki with a comebacker to the mound. Then he hit a deep fly ball to right, hauled in by Chu just short of the warning track. At the knee, strike 1. Wolf with average speed at second. Rosario runs pretty well at first. Well off the plate, 1-1. Twins with 1 hit in 3 opportunities with runners in scoring position, and that hit did not produce a run. That was Mauer's single to left in the first. And Suzuki waits and fouls it at the plate. Hopron tried to keep it in play in fair territory, maybe get a double play. But Wendelstedt said that he touched it behind home plate. 1-2. Rodriguez has missed here in the 7th. He's missed badly.
Yeah, I don't know if he's run out of gas or just a little leery about throwing Suzuki too good of a pitch. Taking a little extra time.
Long looking. 2-2 to Suzuki, and now time called, and here goes Corcoran back out to the mound. If Rodriguez is not out of gas, he's displaying every indication that he is.
He shook him off right there, and then when they did, when Corcoran did put the sign down he wanted, he thought, oh, whoa, I want to go and talk to him about the sign that pitch he wants to throw, meaning Rodriguez. Well, the Rangers starting staff has really pitched well, not only tonight, but over the last 7 games coming into this. They had only allowed, the starters had only allowed 7 runs. So another well-pitched game by the Rangers.
2-2 to Suzuki.
But they're 4-3 in those 7 games.
And Suzuki got a piece of it to tap it foul.
They wanted that hard breaking ball down and in.
Tigers behind David Price beat Cleveland. Miguel Cabrera with a couple of home runs, beating Danny Salazar. Here it's a 1-0 ball game. Twins looking for a little insurance in the 7th. And again, Rodriguez deliberating. He's thrown maybe one pitch in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah. He is giving it a lot of thought. See if Suzuki can shoot this into right field.
Foul back.
He humped up and threw what, 89.
Only one out and 2 men on. And Suzuki with a foul tip. Corcoran hangs on, and Rodriguez ends up striking out the Twins catcher 2 down.
The curveball that Suzuki swung hard through, and strikeout number 6 for Rodriguez. So he pulled the string on a good hard downward breaking ball.
And now Escobar with 2 on and 2 out. Escobar with a strikeout in the 2nd, hit a fly ball to center in the 5th. Popped up, back and out of play. All across baseball, run scoring is tough, but not for the Toronto Blue Jays. They were behind Boston 8-1. They now lead 13-8.
What about Josh Donaldson, the year he's having? Wow. I'm sure he was part of that.
Escobar takes a called strike, a delayed strike call by Hunter Wendelstedt, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, it's almost the same breaking ball that struck out Suzuki. You can see, even though Corcoran caught it low, it's where it crossed the plate.
Twins need a pick-me-up from Escobar. And tight.
Go another fastball as you throw that breaking ball. Yep, into the breaking ball.
Tops. 2-2.
Saw Rodriguez kind of bite his glove right there. He wanted that to be a little bit up a little bit and hopefully get Escobar to swing through it.
The 17th pitch of the night for Wandy Rodriguez. There's only been a couple of well hit balls. Two and 2. Yeah, Escobar waits on that 75-mile-per-hour pitch. We've seen right-handed batters do it, left-handed batters do it. You wait and you wait and you wait.
It's trying to hit it's kind of like trying to hit a softball when it's just spinning up there, and you have to have really good timing on it. Most pitches he's needed in an inning at 31 right now.
And all the Twins have done is they've gotten a leadoff single and a 1-out walk.
We've seen the Rangers do the same thing to Tommy Malone's big, slow breaking ball.
And now Rodriguez steps off.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go 3-2 here.
He just went 3-2.
Now it'll give Trevor Plouffe a couple extra steps, and he'll be taken off along with Rosario. Now, as a hitter, I'm sure you look for two pitches. Fastball, but you also have to get that breaking ball.
And Escobar pulled an 82-mile-per-hour pitch foul. Well, that's a lot of help.
Well, I mean, hitters always say, I'll sit on the fastball, then adjust to the breaking ball.
Right.
So there you go.
It's like in Field of Dreams. Look for down and away, but watch out for in your ear. What are you supposed to do with that?
Well, get out of the way.
8th pitch of this at bat.
You got a split second.
Runners go. Escobar pounds it into the dirt, foul. I'm guessing Rodriguez is not going to come out for the 8th inning. 120 pitches, number 121. And Escobar will force yet another one. And it's not just the elevated pitch count, but it's in this inning.
Yeah. We showed you the pitch count. There aren't any innings other than maybe the first. You'd say he's under duress a little bit, but a lot of pitches this inning.
Number 36 coming.
Right. Good battle right here. He had a good battle with Suzuki and won it when he struck out Suzuki.
Whacked him, and they're loaded up now for Aaron Hicks. And we'll see whether the Rangers make a move.
And the second walk of the inning and the third in the ballgame for Rodriguez. And Bannister coming out, making the motion to bring in a right-hander. Pitched a whale of a ball game.
He can afford to smile. Maybe it's a grimace, but he's going to come out of the ball game here down 1-0. He pitched another great ball game for the Rangers. They got him off of waivers from the Braves, and they're not going to get him back. He pitched another great one here tonight. Aaron Hicks with the bases loaded and 2 away.
And hard thrower Keone Kelly coming out of the ball game, or coming into the ball game, making his 29th relief appearance. Hard throwing right-hander. Good fastball, hard curveball, and a changeup in his rookie season for the Rangers.
And Hicks takes a strike at the knees. Driven foul, 2 strikes, 95 miles per hour, which must seem like 105 after you've been hitting against Wandy Rodriguez. Hicks, a full-time switch hitter again, hitting right-handed against lefties, left-handed against righties, but just the 2 runs batted in on one swing, a 2-run home run at Target Field. Big spot here for Hicks. 0-2. Tapper over the mound. Andrus got him by a step. Through it all, the Twins are able to fill the bases, but they leave them full, and it's still 1-0.
Presented by the authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins, LLC.
You can fill out your 2015 Insurance MLB All-Star Game ballot right now at twinsbaseball.com. Voting is exclusively online, available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. You can vote up to 35 times at twinsbaseball.com.
Well, Tommy Milone here tonight has been really on. I mean, he's got, 7 strikeouts in a ball game so far. He's painting a corner. And anytime that, you pitch a good ball game deep into the ball game, you need some good defense behind you. And he's been able to get that. Escobar, that in the 3rd inning, made a great play on the Shields. He went deep into the hole for Corcoran in the 5th inning, and then Trevor Plouffe made a great play against Alberto in the 6th inning.
And Milone is out there to pitch for the Rangers in the 7th, and he'll face a couple of left-handed batters starting with Prince Fielder. Now, I wanted to pick up what I started to discuss, I think, in the last half inning. Sometimes left-handed finesse pitchers who feature a changeup struggle against lefties, but does Milone have some success against lefties because of a good breaking ball? Is that his pitch to get lefties out?
He does such a good job of working that fastball into lefties too, and then that breaking ball, and then he works both sides of the plate. So that's what we've seen from Milone here tonight, especially say against Fielder. There's a fastball away for strike 1. Fielder, who came into this ball game hitting .346, the best in the American League, hasn't really made good contact yet. And the dangerous hitter here, fastball, just missed down and away.
Fielder hitting about 100 points less against lefties than righties.
Now, there's 2 straight fastballs. Does he go a 3rd? And he did. So maybe Fielder thinking, okay, he got me out on a high breaking ball that I popped up to left. Then he sneaks 3 fastballs by him at 90.
Now Plouffe jogs over to the right side of the infield with 2 strikes on the batter.
And here's the changeup.
To right field and into past Dozier for a leadoff hit.
Yeah, he left it up right there, and fielder's so strong. I mean, line drive base hit. Only the second hit off of Malone, and it comes out here with the first out in the 7th inning. So location, he wanted it down, he left it out over the plate, and fielder hitting a rocket into right field.
Now leadoff hit, and Moreland will bat. He's struck out twice, once looking, once swinging. Alone into the stretch for just the 3rd time on the night. High fly, center field. And Hicks runs all the way to left center field to make the catch, 1 away.
Yeah, this the way it's blowing in, I'm sure an outfielder, you're underneath it. Okay, now 5 more steps. Okay, I'm still underneath. Okay, 5 more. Okay, I catch it.
Andres the batter. He's bounced into 6 double plays. Only fielder has hit into more on the Rangers.
Yeah, now Malone, he's been able to get only 2 double plays turned behind him. Aaron Thompson getting loose in the Twins bullpen.
Andres with a pop up to second and a swinging strikeout. Breaking ball. Ooh, missed him high, I guess. Ball 1.
You know, Tommy Malone has a great pickoff. I mean, he did pick off Martin, but then Martin ended up, you know, getting a stolen base. But watch fielders lead. He is not going to get picked off. And he took 1 step back. But Tommy delivered toward home plate.
1-1 to Andres.
No.
Hit deep to left field.
No.
Andres has put the Rangers in front.
The home run nemesis for Tommy Malone, who had given up 7 in his first 5 starts, caught up to him here in the 7th inning.
Of all people, Elvis Andres, who prior to this at bat had 17 major league home runs in 6.5 years in the big leagues, and he hit it where probably the only place he could have hit it out, right down the left field line. And now Gallo. Ball 1. A 1-1 pitch, and this game is turned upside down.
Looked like Tommy wanted to come in, and Andres just opened up quickly and hit it down that left field line.
Breaking ball hit a mile in the air. Mauer makes the catch and then stumbles over Moreland's bat, or excuse me, Gallo's bat. 2 down.
Well, let's take a look at the pitch right here. What Malone and Suzuki tried to do, come inside, and they got too much of the plate. Andres opening up quickly.
And for a guy who's only hit 18 home runs, he seemed to know it was gone. And now Corcoran. Out in front. 1 strike. Two strikes.
Corcoran, a backup catcher. Again, Rodriguez and he were battery mates in Houston. That's why he played tonight's ball game. But 5 seasons coming into this year, a .226 hitter. Known more as a defensive catcher than an offensive catcher. Does have some pop if you make a mistake.
1-2. Rangers have gone 20 innings without scoring a run, and they get 2 on the board from a very unlikely source. Oakland strikes out, but this game has been turned upside down. Elvis Andrus with a 2-run home run, and now the Rangers lead by a run. Andrus has had a disappointing year, both in terms of batting average, in errors. He's got a dozen of those. Hitting a home run with a man aboard. It's 2-1, and now the Twins lineup has to get back to work against the Ranger bullpen.
And it's a bullpen that has really struggled. They're combined for the bullpen a 4.42 ERA. That's 14th in the American League.
Strike 1 from Tanner Scheppers. It'll be Dozier, Hunter, and Mauer in the 8th. Dozier walked and scored in the first. Since then, a couple of ground balls to the left side. And Dozier takes up high. 1-1.
Yeah, only the Oakland A's have a higher ERA out of their bullpen.
And to the backstop, 2-1. Neftali Feliz started the year as their closer. Now Steve Tollison gets the save opportunities for the Rangers. Sean Tollison, I should say. Here's a drive to left off the bat of Dozier. It is back, tie game. Just like that, the Twins have tied it up.
And home run number 12 for Brian Dozier.
The Texas lead lasts 3 pitches.
Well, a fastball looked like that. Brian opened up just like Andrus did. And hits it over that left field fence. Brian not sure. He's lost a lot of that box with the wind and everything. It goes up just over the railing out in left field.
And now Torrey Hunter. Hunter takes outside, ball 1. And now 2-0. Big swing for Brian Dozier. And now Hunter takes ball 3 with Mauer on deck. There's your Dozier's home run at 378 feet.
Just enough.
And Hunter lined it on 3-0, and he dribbled the one up foul. 3 active players with at least 300 home runs, 4 Gold Gloves. Adrian Beltre, Torrey Hunter. And I tend to forget about Teixeira's prowess as a first baseman.
Well, he's been hurt the last couple of years.
3-1. Fouled away, 3-2. Fly ball, short center field. Team over now in a step. 1 down. And we'll bring up Mauer. Rays leading the White Sox 7-5, top of the ninth. We told you the Tigers won 4-0 behind David Price and Miguel Cabrera. Here we're tied at 2. Mauer with a single in the first and a couple of ground balls to short after in the 3rd and 6th innings. Butch Davis will handle that. And strike.
Give it to a lucky fan, probably a kid in that front row.
And tap back to the mound. Checkers has it. 2 down. And they'll bring up Plouffe.
Third baseman Trevor Plouffe.
Plouffe with a sacrifice fly in the first. That drove in the first Twins run. Led off the 7th with a single, but only made it as far as third base. Ball 1. Strike called, 1-1. Strike 2. With this, their 60th game, have now hit 47 home runs. Plouffe strikes out. Dozier's home run, tying the game at 2 as we head to the bottom of the 8th. Bullpen to pitch to the Rangers in the 8th.
Yeah, whale of a start for Tommy Milone. One mistake, but the game is tied at 2 apiece for Aaron Thompson, his 30th relief appearance. He needs a clean inning right here. He's been off a little bit.
And Martin bluffs a bunt, takes ball 1. The 8, 9, and 1 batters, Martin, Alberto, and DeShields. Kloof in on the grass at third. Mauer about even with the base at first. And down low, 2-0.
And I think that's what we've seen from Aaron here over the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's just falling behind an account. Does have 9 walks in his 29 relief appearances. But you get into these counts when you're not overpowering, you're going to get hit hard.
And now 3-0. Martin with a single in the 3rd, struck out swinging in the 5th. Three and 1. Thompson starting to have some pretty glaring splits between righties and lefties. Left-handers hitting just 167 against him, but right-handers hitting just under 300. One of the reasons he's brought in here is because of Martin being a lefty. And he walked him on 5 pitches. And now that'll set up a bunting situation for Alberto. Spend your summer at Target Field by becoming a Twins season ticket holder with a new Pick 10 plan. You pick the 10 games that fit your schedule and also save on price. Enjoy sweet spot benefits exclusive to Twins season ticket holders, including 10% off game day food and merchandise at Target Field. Learn more about the new package option. Visit twinsbaseball.com/pick10 or by calling 612-33-TWINS.
Yeah, Alberto has 2 sacrifices on the year in a sacrifice situation. Trevor Plouffe in on the grass. And a throw over, and Alberto showing early that he pushed that bat in front of him, showing punt.
He squared before Thompson even got into the stretch position. They're not relying on the element of surprise here. And foul. Pitch up, and Alberto did, I guess, a good job not popping that pitch up. He jabbed at it. Beasley, the 3rd base coach for the Rangers.
Let's see if he squares around as early as he did. Presley and Dunsing warming up.
One strike to the number 9 batter.
And now he keeps that bat back and then squares around.
In the air. And Mauer has the play at second base. He looked at first, and I think it was Dozier who caught his attention and screamed at him to throw to second.
Well, that's also a play that if that runner kind of hesitates, you got a chance to throw to first and then maybe get that runner in a rundown.
And you could see
Martin kind of took off, so that was the right play. If Martin's still hanging around the bag, then you get the out at first, and then you hope to tag Martin out in the rundown. So an unsuccessful bunt by Alberto, but he's at first base.
Thompson leaves after walking one man and getting one out from the next.
Presley, who was born in Dallas, Texas, not too far from here, making his 19th relief appearance out of Marcus High School in Flower Mound, Texas. Recently signed by the Red Sox.
Facing Delino to Shields. Fastball down and in. Presley can reach mid-90s with his fastball. There's a knee buckling curve. And now he falls behind the batter, 1-0.
Rangers do some running. They have 44 stolen bases in 60 attempts. For Alberto, he has 1 stolen base in 1 attempt.
Fox tracks presented by Carrier. Swing and a miss.
Good hard slider there.
That's the pitch we don't maybe mention enough. We see the slower breaking ball, but he's got a quick slider too.
That's why I thought when he was a Rule 5 player a couple years ago, and then of course the next year he went down to the minor leagues, I thought they would make him a starter because he really has 4 very good pitches. But the Twins feel this is the best role for Ryan Presley. He's done a good job.
Missing the corner down and away, 2-1. Headed up the middle, into center field. DeShields with a hit. Alberto holds up at second.
Well, he fell behind, came in with a fastball, and DeShields hit it right back up the middle. And the ball scoots through the infield very quickly here. And runners at first and second. DeShields picking up his first hit and only the 4th for the Rangers.
Ryan asked to get 1 man out, the right-handed hitting to Shields. He did not, and now it looks like we'll have another pitching change. Brian Dunsing was warming up. We have Chu, Fielder, and Moreland, 3 lefties scheduled in a row. So Presley leaves. First and second, 1 down, bottom of the 8th. Tied it with a solo home run top of the 8th, but the Rangers have a threat with 1 out, first and second. And Brian Dunsing, who's really struggled against left-handers, will be asked to get a couple of big ones out here in the 8th.
Yeah, in 11 2/3 innings, Brian's given up 18 hits, 8 walks, 1 intentional, so a lot of base runners, only 5 strikeouts for Brian.
He has faced 24 left-handed batters, given up 9 hits. He's hit 2 batters and walked 2 lefties. And Suzuki does a nice job keeping the double play in order.
Yeah, Brian, you know, when he was put on a disabled list in the middle of April with that right intercostal strain, He came back and he pitched well for a while. Then he had a couple poor outings, but even 2 outings ago, that Milwaukee game, he gave up a third of an inning, gave up 3 runs. So he needs to get a out here, maybe a double play.
Fouled back, a breaking ball, 1-1. Tonkin warming up in the Twins bullpen.
Yeah, Brian's been with the Twins since 2009 for 7 seasons. Good speed at first and second with Alberto. Shields at first.
Nearly hit him. 2-1. Chu walked in the first, grounder in the third, fly ball in the sixth. Strike on the outside corner.
Chu has faced Dunsing a lot, 8 hits and 29 at bats, a .276 hitter.
Two and two. Mauer will get just the one play going to the bag. Both runners will move up, 2 down.
Well, that leaves first base open, so I wouldn't be surprised if they walk fielder here.
Mitch Moreland, who doesn't have the substantial resume that Fielder does in terms of run production, particularly late in the game.
Yeah, you gotta intentionally walk him right here. Suzuki not already putting his glove out. First base open. Fans will boo. It's the right move. They may have come to watch Fielder play. Brian Dunsing didn't.
No, he's seen enough of them, I suspect, over the years.
Yeah, Fielder against Dunsing, 4 hits and 12 at bats. .333 hitter.
Twins loaded the bases in the 7th, but left them full, and now Dunsing and the Twins hoping to do the same thing here. Force the Rangers to leave the bases full.
And now you have Moreland that you're going to have to throw strikes to, but he is just 1 for 11 off of Brian.
And doesn't draw many walks either. He likes to swing the bat, as we've already seen here tonight.
Yep, and Brian has struck him out 5 times in those 11 plate appearances.
Tonight, called out on strikes in the first, swung awkwardly on a Malone breaking ball, struck out in the 4th, and then hit a fly ball to center in the first pitch he saw in the 7th. To center. Hicks back. Makes the catch. Dropped the ball.
No.
He dropped the ball. And 2 runs will score.
Well, Moreland jumped on that first pitch, hit a line drive. Hicks got a good jump. He wasn't playing very deep, but boy, he went back quickly. And sure enough, it looked like Hicks. Remember, there's 2 outs here. Hicks goes back. Has it in his glove. I don't know if he ever had it in his glove. Ball fell out.
And now Paul Molitor will make a pitching change. It was a well-hit ball, no question about it. But on a night like tonight, that should have been an out.
Right.
And we should be heading to the top of the 9th.
They haven't posted a hit or an error, but that has to be an error right there. And if there was, it's Hicks's first of the year. Came at a bad time. He himself knows he should have caught that ball.
First error of the year has given the Rangers now a 2-run lead, and Michael Tonkin comes in. Twins with all the roster shuffling still have 13 pitchers, 8 relievers. Tonkin called up.
Yeah, Tonkin for a third stint. He did come up in that doubleheader in Boston and then sent back down. But just recall, Tim Stauffer designated for assignment.
So now Andrus, who broke the silence and the shutout here in the 7th inning. Tommy Malone had a 1-0 lead that he had held into the 7th inning, and with 1 out, Andrus hit just his 18th major league home run to put the Rangers in front 2-1. One and out. Twins had a day off yesterday, and they're cutting through the bullpen here. Tonkin, the 4th reliever, up the middle, a base hit. Hicks with a throw, cut off, and the Twins will end the inning. Andrus delivers a 2-run single after the 2-run home run. It's a 4-run 8th for Texas. Four unearned runs for the Rangers in the bottom of the 8th inning. Elvis Andrus with 4 runs batted in. And the Twins against Sean Tollison, who's the new Texas closer, will try to strike back in the top of the 9th.
Yeah, with Felice on a disabled list, Tollison getting the opportunity to pick up some saves, and he has 8 on the year. 32 strikeouts in 27 1/3 innings in his 2nd season with the Rangers.
Vargas will lead things off 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Swing and a miss. Vargas, Rosario, Suzuki, Escobar, and then Hicks. And the Twins will need a couple more after that. Off-speed pitch missing, 1-1. Mentioned Neftali Feliz on the disabled list. He'd blown some saves early in the season, and Jeff Bannister, the rookie major league manager, pretty much busted up the bullpen and just wouldn't assign roles for a while. He just went game by game, inning by inning, and then when the dust settled, This guy ended up settling in as their new closer.
Yeah, Tollinson came out of the Dodger organization where in the minor leagues he was a closer, 49 minor league saves, but never at the big league level.
2-2 to Vargas. Just missed low. And it's a full count.
Tollinson, 27 years old. Last year had a very good year out of that bullpen, but no save opportunities.
Hit hard. Alberto plays it side saddle and makes the play, 1 down. He did not get in front of that, but he got his glove in front of that.
Yeah, he didn't want to get in front of that.
Time now for What's Next, brought to you by CenturyLink. 2 more games here in Texas. Tomorrow, a mid-afternoon game. Mike Pelfrey will go against Colby Lewis.
Mike Pelfrey has been outstanding, and Colby Lewis, a veteran, still in that rotation for the Rangers. Still plugging away.
Mike Pelfrey, 4th in the American League in earned run average, behind Sonny Gray, Chris Archer, Dallas Keuchel. Here's Rosario. Swing and a miss. If you would have said at the start of the game that the Rangers were going to get a big 2-run home run late from their lineup today, who would you guess would be the least likely to do that?
Alberto.
Well, of players you know anything about. Elvis Andrus, right?
Yeah, right.
If I then would have said, well, in the next inning, next half inning, there's a liner to center, and Martin does not make the catch.
It looked like he trapped it.
And Rosario will get a base hit, a sinking line drive to center that Martin did not catch.
Well, he tried to credit David Rackley for the second base umpire for going out there and keeping an eye on it. Martin tried to sell it to him right here, but you can see Rackley going out, and the ball definitely one-hopped into his glove. Good effort by Martin, but Rosario picks up a base hit, his first.
And now Suzuki. And then just to complete the thought, if I would have then said that in the next inning the Twins defense would commit 1 error that would lead to 4 unearned runs, who would be your least likely?
Aaron Hicks.
Exactly.
Yeah. I say he's made some great plays out there, and then that one just didn't get in his glove. It happens to the best of them.
Suzuki with 1 strike. And now fouled away. Just when it seems like Kurtz found something and he's ready to take off and get the batting average into the 270s, 280s, he hits a little skid like he's in now. 0 for 3 again tonight. Hit the ball hard once in the 5th inning for an out.
I think in that Boston series they had 5 hits in a couple ball games, and you're thinking, okay, here he goes, right. He's going to get going, but then it's there. He'll find it.
Foul back again. It is Friday the 12th, but we've had some weird things happen as if it's Friday the 13th. Felix Hernandez lasts a third of an inning, gives up 8 earned runs tonight. Some weird stuff here as well. 5-4-3, and the inning ends. The game ends, and for the first time this year, Minnesota Twins have a 4-game losing streak. Tom Hanneman, the Twins had this game right where they wanted, but the Rangers come back. Elvis Andrus with a big day at the plate, and the game goes to the Rangers 6-2.